worn-out sneakers, a broken zipper on a black bag, and faded clothes. The only things I owned that I wasn't ashamed of, despite being worn and tattered, were my books and my English dictionary. My family's financial situation was so difficult that I couldn't afford academy tuition. Instead, I attended classes by doing odd jobs, wiping the blackboard, mopping the floors, and other chores. After class, I had to rush from one classroom to another carrying an eraser. When class started, I sat in the front row, my hair covered in white chalk dust, studying with all my might. I was born with polio, severely limping on my right leg. Inherited from my mother, I was also naturally timid. But I never shrink away. Instead, hope for the future burned vividly inside me, as fresh as the shimmering scales of a mackerel. Even with my short right leg making me wobble as I walked, even as I had to wear the same autumn jacket through the freezing winter, I clenched my teeth and never let go of my books. One bitterly cold winter day, I desperately needed money to buy a book. I went to the market where my mother was selling fish. But as I watched her from a few steps away, I couldn't bring myself to approach her. Holding back tears, I turned around and left. She was sitting on the damp market ground, wearing an old scarf wrapped tightly around her head, eating her cold lunch with just a bit of kimchi. That night, I fought off sleep, hitting my forehead against the desk repeatedly to stay awake, studying through the night for my mother, who had sacrificed so much for me. After my father passed away when I was young, my mother raised my older brother and me on her own, struggling every step of the way. Unfortunately, my brother also had a disability. He suffered from severe cerebral palsy. Speaking a single word twisted his entire face, making it almost frightening to watch. Yet, despite his condition, my brother worked at a fruit wholesaler my mother knew, carrying heavy crates on a cart to support our family. Thinking of him, I gritted my teeth even harder and studied relentlessly. Then, after years of hardship, the day finally came. I was accepted into Seoul National University. Holding my acceptance letter, the first place I ran to was the market where my mother was. That day, she was again sitting with her back to her stall, eating cold rice. I approached her from behind and wrapped my arms tightly around her weary shoulders. Mom, I got in. Tears blurred my vision, making it impossible to see her face. She, too, couldn't finish the food in her mouth, tears streaming endlessly down her cheeks. In the middle of the busy market, she held me close for a long time. That day, she gave away all the fish in her stall to her regular customers, refusing to take a single cent. My brother, overjoyed, put me on his cart, took off his jacket to wrap me in it, and proudly paraded me around the market, shouting words only he could understand. Through the cold, I saw his frozen cheeks glistening with tears of joy. That evening, for the first time in a long while, the three of us shared a meal together at a small restaurant in the market. My mother, overwhelmed with emotions from the hardships of the past, could barely finish her soup. Wiping away her tears with her faded old cloth bag, she suddenly spoke of my father. If only your father were alive, he would be so proud. You must understand him. Deep down, he had a kind heart. He wasn't a cruel man. He only became violent because of endless business failures and suffocating poverty. He drank every day to escape, and having not just one but two disabled sons, can you imagine how heavy that burden must have been for him? Tomorrow morning, we should go see him. We need to tell him this wonderful news. When I was young, my parents often fought. My father, always drunk, would beat my mother in front of us almost every day. Then, on a winter day when rain fell endlessly, he finally gave in to his guilt and despair, leaving behind only a short farewell letter before taking his own life. On my high school graduation day, as I climbed the stage to receive my honors award, I lost my balance and tumbled down the stairs. Pain shot through my body, leaving me unable to move. My mother rushed to me with teary eyes and quickly helped me up. A moment later, as she dusted off my uniform, I hugged her tightly. At that moment, I heard a wave of applause from behind me. Late at night, after studying at the library, I stopped by the convenience store for a cup of ramen. A group of girls was sitting nearby, and suddenly, I felt too self-conscious to limp past them. Worried that my hunched figure, eating alone in a corner, might look pitiful, afraid that I might accidentally start crying, I hesitated, fidgeting with the coins in my pocket, then quietly returned to the reading room without eating. That night, on a blank sheet of paper, I wrote, "The darkness will fall, but I will rise again from it." Now, all that remains is for me to forgive my father, who rests beneath the wildflowers beyond the hills, and to repay the love of my mother and brother, who have illuminated my path like a guiding light through the darkness. Today, my brother is studying hard, determined to attend university. No matter how tired he is, he reads aloud every day for an hour, slowly and painstakingly, refusing to give up hope despite his speech difficulties. All day long, I helped my brother carry fruit crates, finishing work only late at night. On the bus home, gazing out at the dark cityscape, a quote from Andrew Malraux came to mind. Those who dream for a long time finally come to resemble their dreams. Today, he is in the United States pursuing a Ph.D. in aerospace engineering. Supported by a domestic company, he brought his mother and brother to America, where they live together while he studies and takes care of his family.